I grew up watching Tarzan as a kid on telly. I even saw in a cinema Tarzan serials that they reran, old black and white TV serials.
We did Tarzan-like things after we came from the movies. We swung from tree to tree and rolled down hills, and we jumped off high boards into pools.
Every kid remembers jumping off a box with a rope and trying to imitate Tarzan.
My dad was a massive Tarzan fan as a kid, so he was almost more excited when I got the job than I was.
I grew up with Tarzan as a boy, and it's fantastic to come back to it.
His Serene Highness, King Leopold of Belgium, has extended an invitation to Lord Greystoke to take a royal tour of the Congo Free State.
When I heard about the project, my first question was, why make another version of Tarzan? It's been told so many times, so what's different about this?
I wanted to find a story that was epic and had lots going on, lots of motion, action, spectacle. And then along came this script, and it said Tarzan on it, and I said, I'm not reading that. Tarzan's a bloke who swings through the jungle. But I read it, and it immediately grabbed me.
And then I got the script, and I opened it, and the first page is John in London drinking tea with the Prime Minister. And he's in a suit and a proper hairdo and very polite and very sophisticated.
From the get-go, everything's a slightly different take than what you'd expect. It's a very unexpected version of Tarzan.
It's an epic story, and it's going back to Africa, and it's dipping into a world and a time the audience haven't been to for a while. And in that sense, it feels really fresh. And it's a very contemporary spin on that world. John Clayton III, Tarzan, has come back to England to take up the mantle of being the Lord of Greystoke.
What brought him to London was an obligation. The jungle is his home. He was born and raised there.
And when he goes back to be this English lord, it's a very lonely place. Greystoke's a very grey old country house, and it's sort of, in a way, sucks all the air out of their existence. They have whatever they want, but it's really empty.
They put on a wonderful facade to look like they fit in there, but it's evident they're just not quite at home in England.
He's a bit of a celebrity, and some would regard him as a bit of a freak. And that isolates him even more.
The fact that he needs to cope with actually not being 100% at home in either world is interesting, because it's a conflict.
I want to go home.
This is our home.
Trying to keep me here won't work.
For a decade, he's kept Tarzan hidden and is now John Clayton, Lord Greystoke. So when this invitation to go back to the Congo presents itself, he's very hesitant, and he's in a way almost afraid of who he was in the jungle and that animalistic side of him. So it's almost if the novel and most of the adaptations are about taming the beast, this is more about releasing the beast.
You are Tarzan. Me, Tarzan, you, Jane. Tarzan, Tarzan.
There's been so many different interpretations of the character, so it was important for me to find my own Tarzan.
We went through every actor, you know, all the usual suspects. And David and I were both fans of Alexander Skarsgård, and we settled on him early on.
Alex had the scale, the size, the kind of heroic qualities, but he also had this vulnerability. That combination made him a perfect Tarzan for this story.
In his performance, what he's doing is you see the wounds, and you see the power, and you see the fear, and you see the strength. And Alex is finding those moments in there to make you feel that it's a real human being at the core of the character. And he looks like the greatest version of Tarzan you could ever imagine.
When we first got Alexander, he didn't look like that. He was half the size.
Alex worked out for months and months with a big trainer who did a wonderful job with him.
I wanted to put on some weight, but I also didn't want to get too big, and he can't look like a bodybuilder.
Tarzan is a man who grew up fighting in the jungle, so we want a different look for him. More cut, more shredded, and more like an animal.
Alexander Skarsgård has worked harder than any actor I know. He never, ever stopped. He was in the gym for 2 hours a day, at the beginning of the day, then he'd go back at the end of the day. He was doing movement classes, he did everything over a period of months.
We should pump for this, right?
Yeah. We actually have a mobile gym on set as well, a couple of dumbbells and a bar. So the days when he's shirtless and we want that pumped look, we're actually lifting a little weights before he's on.
That sort of commitment and discipline boggles my mind.
He is no normal man. He was thought to be an evil spirit, the ghost in the trees. No man ever started with less.
Tarzan is a celebration of Africa. It's the extraordinariness of animals, and it's the majesty of those landscapes and the dignity and the grace of the peoples who live there.
The adventure and enormity of what we know as Africa is a distinct character in the film.
We're looking for a location to shoot Tarzan. And we scouted Gabon. We all have an idea of what Tarzan is and what the rainforest is, but this was the real deal.
I've never seen anything like it.
You are Tarzan, Lord of the Apes, King of the Jungle.
Hi, I'm Alexander Skarsgård.
And I'm Margot Robbie.
Our film, The Legend of Tarzan, tells a new story about a character who has always embodied our deep connection to nature.
We now know what a delicate balance that connection is, extending from the tiniest creature to the most majestic